afternoon. It's September the 19th, and I wanted to make a video on getting our soil prepared in a new growing spot for growing giant Marconi pepper plants next year. This is where we had our blackberries planted for several years, and we've lost the cane due to hard winters on the berries for 2 years in a row. So we dug these out, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get us some giant Marconi peppers planted here next year. So I'm getting the soil ready now for next year's grow. And what I did was, after I dug these blackberry plants out, I took about half the soil out of the hole, and I amended it with this Pro Mix. This is basically a potting mix. Any potting mix will do. I use potting mix instead of potting soil because potting mix has more perlite or vermiculite, depending on the variety you're using, and peat moss. And it's lighter and airy, and that allows your roots to breathe a little better. And we added to each planting hole a 1/4 cup of lime, and I used 1 full bag of this composted manure and split it up to 4 holes here, so 1/4 of a bag per hole. And then here on the bag fertilizers, these are all organic, and organic fertilizers take time to break down. They're not accessible to the plant once you put them in the soil. Your microbiology in the soil has to break them down, and then they become available to your plants. That's why I do this in the fall, and then in the spring, when we plant our plants, I'll add a little more of this fertilizer to the planting holes. But we use about a 1/2 cup of worm castings, a 1/2 cup of bone meal, a 1/2 cup of this low nitrogen tomato and vegetable fertilizer, and a 1/4 cup of blood meal. And we'll go ahead and stir that all in, and then I'll top it off with, this little container has wood ash in it. We burned some hardwoods in our grill, and I'll save the ash, and I'll add that in there. That's good for potassium. So we've already did this 2 weeks ago, and I've watered it in this morning real heavy with our last barrel of rainwater. I put about 5 gallons of water on these planting holes so I could get a pH reading. And when I took my pH reading, I was setting about 6.0 to 6.3, depending on which hole you were at. And there's a pH meter if you've never seen any of those. You can get these at your big box stores for around 10 bucks. And they really work good. They come with instructions, and it shows you what your pH for every vegetable or flower is supposed to be. And you can get your soil ready before you plant. I've made some mistakes in the past and planted, and then the pH wasn't right, and I just fought the plants all year trying to get them to produce. So we make sure we test all our soils now before we plant them, and you have to have your water in there to do that. So we've watered them in real heavy, these planting holes, and we've tested it. It tests us out about where we need it for our pepper plants. And then to this, when we mow our lawn, we don't use weed killers on our lawn. We don't use fertilizers on our lawn. That way we can bag up our lawn clippings, and then I'll use it for a mulch on top. I used to mix some of the grass clippings in the planting hole, but I don't do that anymore, because what that does is the grass seed that's in your grass clippings will sprout, and then I've got to fight pulling up all the grass in my planting holes. So I don't add it to the hole itself. I just top it off as a mulch on top, and we usually don't have any problems. I've been mounting this up for 2 years now, and it degrades down. It was a lot taller than that, or thicker rather, but it's been breaking down. I had it under the blackberries. We didn't have any weed problems. So that's what we do with our grass clippings. We also have some composted leaves that we get from our city in the spring. I did add a little bit of that to the planting holes, but not much. What I'll do when it starts getting around November, December, I've got a big pile of them on the side of the house. I'll just top these planting holes off where the soil is with my leaf compost, and that'll sit there through the winter, and it should be all right. We also, when we we start all of our giant Marconi plants from seed early in the season inside under grow lights. We're in central Indiana zone 5B, so we have a short growing window. And if you try to buy these plants at the store, they're getting up to $6 a piece. So I quit buying them at the store several years back and started growing my own. I saved my pepper seeds from the largest peppers, and we regrow these every year. And we get a good start on it usually around February. March, we're starting our seeds inside to get them up to about 8, 10, or 12 inches tall when we set them out at Mother's Day. I think the second week in May, and sometimes we've even been able to plant the first week in May with weather permitting. And that's why I put all these nutrients in the fall, because it takes usually a couple of months to break all of these things down to make it usable to the plant. And if I tried to do that in the spring, then I'm out here probably around March trying to dig up the ground and put these nutrients in there, and sometimes the ground's still frozen. So we usually do it in the fall, and then in the spring, when we dig our holes to plant our plants, we'll add a little bit more nutrients to the planting hole, but it's all ready to go by then. That's why we do it in the fall, and add a little bit more nutrients in the spring in case anything was leached out due to snow loads and rain. That's how we do it. It'll work either way for you. I've grown these giant Marconis many years, and now I'm learning when I rotate my planting sites, I've got to really amend the soil heavy, because once these plants take off, they're heavy feeders. If you don't put enough stuff in the soil, you'll end up with blossom end rot or short stunted plants. If you follow the channel, I have videos of the past 2-year giant Marconi grows, and we ended up with plants up to 7 feet tall. And out of I think it was 13 plants, we ended up with several hundred peppers. So when peppers are $1 to $2 at the store, and we try to do it all organic, it adds up in savings. That's how we do it. There's many different video channels on YouTube for gardening that'll show you different ways to do it. No one's right or wrong here. This is what works for us. If you have a better way, leave us a comment in the comment section, and we'll try that. And I hope this video was helpful to you if you're trying to grow these giant Marconis. I've grown them for probably 6, 7, maybe even 8 years, and I kind of know what works and what don't. So just a little video to show you how we prepare our soil. If you like the content of the video, give us a thumbs up. If you like the content of the channel, give us a thumbs up, and like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.